Do we want to go ahead? Great.
Hey, Dr. Blitzman. Yes, I was trying to let Dr. Cato in the room.
All right.
How you doing this evening?
Girl, I am good. I'm good. I had a good birthday weekend. I took some time out to celebrate my birthday after making sure all my friends and family was safe on Maui. Um, yeah, that has consumed some of my time and energy the last couple of weeks because that was devastating.
Yeah.
For the island.
Everyone all right?
Well,
And your
all of my
family
all of,
friends.
all of my friends and family are fine, meaning that they're alive, they're safe, they have their homes, their homes were not impacted. But the community of Maui is an island. It's in the middle of the Pacific. And we have not had anything like this. The only thing that's in our lifetime that's kind of similar would be Katrina. Think about what happened with Hurricane Katrina when it wiped out New Orleans. It wiped out when Katrina hit New Orleans. It destroyed a lot of the residential areas. But if you remember, the French Quarter, the quarter was not destroyed. And the quarter is the economic hub. So the quarter is, all the bars and all the stuff that goes on in the Mardi Gras and all that could still happen. The casino areas were down there. So there's a huge casino and there's a huge, the stadium was of course messed up. So some of the conventions, that scene was kind of disrupted for a couple of years. But basically, the economic hub of while it was disturbed, it wasn't destroyed. And Maui is an island, so and the Lahaina is a town that is the center of about 80% of the tourism that occurs on Maui. So the whole economic structure, economic base for the island has been disrupted and gone. It's just gone. Plus all of the homes, all the people that were displaced, which is larger than what happened in Katrina. And on top of that, Maui is an island in the middle of an ocean. New Orleans has several states around it. You could truck stuff in, you could take a car and drive out of, New Orleans. There was easier way of leaving the island or transporting goods back and forth for the rebuild. So the rebuild and the recovery is going to be massive and it's going to take longer because everything's going to have to be shipped in. You can't put it on a cargo plane and bring it in. And it was already, it was an island that already had issues around affordable housing, adequate housing for the number of people who live there. All of those things are going to make it worse. And on top of that, Hawaiians had a much more challenging time living there and continuing to live there. And Hawaii, without Hawaiians, it doesn't, is not going to make it Hawaii, So, so there's a lot to think about and to consider as they get on the road to recovery. And we can't even, while might be talking about recovery, I don't want to be tone deaf. The people there are still they're not even talking about rebuilding. They feel like any talk about rebuilding is like moving too fast because a number of them are, they've counted 110 bodies and they think there's another 850 that's missing. So they're still in the recovery phase. They're still trying to wrap their head on the massiveness of destruction that's happened there, the loss of human life. So we're a long way away from even really putting our heads around recovery and what that means. There's a lot of ways in which what happened is similar to Katrina, because it's not just that you lost your house, you lost a town, you lost your community, you lost, everything, your neighbors, your friends, and for a lot of Hawaiians, typically they lived in households where multi-generational households, they live near each other. Yeah, it is devastating. And there's just no two ways about it. So. But, as I said, my friends and family are there. They're fine. The shelves look like they're being restocked, and we just wait to see. Biden came in yesterday and he told everybody he's going to give them $700, and people just laughed and said they were insulted. So Biden is having his George Bush moment. So he be careful. That's all I have to say. But anyway, moving forward tonight. Why don't we say hello to everybody? I did have a birthday. $41 for the 27th time.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. So,
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Dr. Blessman.
Thank you.
Welcome to the 40s.
Yes, with many more.
Mm-hmm.
Looking younger and younger.
At least 41 more, right? But I did say 41 for the 26th time, so okay. So I'm giving it away. I'm proud of my age. I'm good,
You should be. You look
fat.
You sure do.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Dr. Cato, we got to live up to that book that you wrote, right?
You said 50 sensational in the 60s.
There you go.
Well, I'm still working on 70. I don't know if it's sensual or what, but yeah, we're going to work it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Michelle, you want to take over saying good hello to everybody? We have 19 participants tonight, and at 7:15.
I know we have a big group this evening, Dr. Blessman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many more are coming in, and we don't want to stay too late tonight. Probably push our 7 o'clock start for those of us who like to come in at 5, only because my plate just got a little more meat on it. I started school yesterday. So
okay.
I'll be up all night hanging out with y'all. But I am so glad you're here. Dr. Happy was really good last week. I think we all got some good information out of it. I know we probably do need to do a powwow of all of his notes because he has a lot of information. Still trying to get that last video from him so that we can get that posted. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are on YouTube. We have some good content out there. Sister Shirley Walker You so beautiful. Tell your friends to go on and to go ahead and subscribe so that they can see your beautiful face. Dr. Cato, you led an event, and so thank you so much, so much, so much. Your beautiful face is on that YouTube. Family, we're on YouTube. We're out there, and we are getting quite a few hits. One of the videos that's getting some good hits is, and I am gonna have to invite him back, Dr. Cartman for the Black Men in Mental Health. He's
Oh,
getting
wow.
hits on his YouTube webcast. But we do have some good ones where Dr. Blessman has been leading the conversation. Sister Cynthia, she's getting some good hits, but of course her sisters are behind her and they probably went to go see her on our show. So we have quite a few hits on Sister Cynthia, and the videos are going to keep coming because I still have to find them. I'm digging them out. And I know Mrs. McNair got some videos in there too. So we got to get those videos. So I'm just going to round us out real good. I'm just going to say hello real quick. Hello, Miss Barbara Brock. Glad to see you in the room. Miss Williams. Yes, I see you there. If you have any shout outs you want to make, go ahead, jump in and make them. But I'm going to do like a roll call real fast so we can get Dr. Blessing's presentation and get everybody back to watching all of the breaking news that's happening with our former president, Donald J. Trump. Sister Wright, how you doing? Miss Denise Eddy, I missed you.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, now, Miss Sister Johnson, June Johnson, Christy, I've definitely been missing you because if you wasn't coming in tonight, I was going to be on the phone calling you to find out what is going on.
Didn't Dr. Happy tell y'all my father has been in the hospital for 4 weeks?
Oh, wow. See, I knew.
Oh, what's up?
I thought he would have at least told you, Dr. Blessman.
No, patient privilege. I mean, no.
Well, my dad has been very sick. I will actually tell y'all, I thought I was going to lose him. My dad has all the silent killers of Black people. He's been, going to the doctors or whatever, and he got sick. I had to call the paramedics one Sunday morning. And unfortunately, the hospital here is not very good. He stayed there for 2 weeks, but I had to have him transferred to a hospital in Richmond that was a trauma hospital that could care for him. So my dad is on dialysis, and that's not the kicker part. He started that in the hospital the night he went, but my dad had to have his large intestines removed.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So, and it's very traumatic for an 80-year-old, but y'all know it's been very traumatic for me because I was living through this and I have had to take care of my dad like I was a nurse because of the hospital here. So I'm working on a report to several agencies in Virginia and to the government insurances, Medicare and stuff like that. So I have been through a lot.
What can we do to help support you?
Right.
Y'all can pray at this point. Just pray and send positive energy. That's all. Dr. Blessman, I'm planning on coming to see you and Dr. Happy, but I had to get my dad straight. I now have him in rehab. But it has been like I said, it's been a struggle. And you have to realize my dad is 80 years old.
You're doing wonderful, Christy.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Dr. Cato. I appreciate that. I do the best I can, but I am his biggest advocate, and you cannot leave your loved ones in any hospital, nursing home, or any medical facility. They have to have an advocate because our medical system sucks.
Absolutely. That, they look at an 80-year-old Black man and say, oh, he's lived a long life. He's already passed the actuarial number. I know because they did my dad like that.
Yeah.
Well, they don't get away with that with me, Dr. Blessman, and I'm sure that's what they were doing. Like here, my dad never complains, but my dad actually said, he said, Christy, this hospital is worse than our hospital at home, and he said the people are, he doesn't say racist like us, he said they're prejudiced. And I know it was because, as we call them, Michelle, Karens, I had been helping them get medical records because I asked them to transfer him to Virginia Commonwealth University, which is a teaching hospital where his physicians are. They wouldn't because HCA is a for-profit hospital and they wanted the money because my dad has insurance.
Yep.
And I asked and asked repeatedly. One night my dad was in the step-down unit of ICU and he literally was bleeding. The nurse went to somebody else's room, didn't help her tech clean him. He had to go out to the regular floor. And I was standing in the hall and she was like, well, she's standing in the hall. And I was like, that's when I had enough. And my dad had been there 9 days. And I let her have it. And she's like, well, you're disturbing the patients. I said, that's not what I meant to do. And I went on in the room. She called security on me. They was like, can you come out the room? I said, no. I said, what were y'all called for? They said, because there was a disturbance. I said, well, I alleviated that. I walked away. And so they said, well, can you come out? I said, let me tell you something. Who are you? I said, you're not police. You put your hands on me. The real police coming to get you. They stood outside the door and looked at me. The little white lady came in trying to talk to me, some nurse that wasn't really anybody. And she was like, well, you can't. They accused me of assaulting their staff. And I said, I haven't assaulted anybody. I said, I said, why you keep looking at me? I said, if you can't get my dad out of this hospital tonight, leave me alone. The next morning I got up and I didn't leave that hospital because my dad was bleeding all night. I didn't leave that hospital till 2 o'clock in the morning. I told Dr. Morales, I said, I want my dad out this so-and-so hospital ASAP. I said, you won't send him to VCU, you send him to HCA Chippenham. He said, what about Johnson Willis? I said, no, send him to the trauma hospital. And I bet you in 20 minutes, we had clearance to get my dad out that hospital. And that's the only thing that saved him because my dad would have been dead. He would have bled to death.
Christy, you need to reach out to Cynthia, because you're in Virginia, right?
I am.
She's connected to your senator. You need to call her so you can get your paperwork going up the food chain real quick.
Who is Cynthia?
Oh, see, you have been dealing with your father since we've had Cynthia Agnew on. I don't think you were on. That's why I was said.
What's her last name? Agnew?
Agnew. How do you pronounce it, Dr. Blessing? Are you still there? No, she probably went on video. AIDNIG. She's with BIPOC Equity Agency. Tell her I sent you. Because see, you didn't, or what you can do, you can go back on the YouTube videos because she's there. And
I went to the YouTube when you said it, so I have subscribed. So I'll go there.
Yeah, because she lives in Virginia, Christy, and I don't understand what's going on in Virginia. They call the police on her too.
Security.
Girl, they can't call the police on me. What they don't realize, and what most federal employees don't realize, you can't threaten a federal employee. You threaten us, I have a different number I'm gonna call. The local police won't go pick them up.
Exactly.
The local police won't go pick them up. The state of Virginia police won't go pick them up. The federal police would have come down here, and if some of them that lived here, they would have came over and picked them up. Because see, I would have had them a story and told them that Karen assaulted me.
But she had the same experience, and so, but
So you were assaulted, Christy?
She asked me to go out. She talked smart to me because she was supposed to be waiting on my dad, and she didn't want to because he was a black man. So she went to another patient's room and made like she was doing something so she didn't have to help her caretake. Well, so she called security on me 10 minutes later, and I wasn't even bothering her.
Yeah, that's nothing but the enemy. But we pray, caregivers need prayer, and people that are taking care of our loved ones need prayer, and we need prayer.
They need more than prayer.
They don't always do the right thing that they should do.
They need to quit the field. They need to get out of the healthcare field.
Yes,
that's what they need to do, because there is a conscious level of caregivers, healthcare workers, giving us less than quality
care.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Because they don't
Gotta be an
see us
advocate.
as,
But Michelle, the sad part is I had talked to their CEO because their hospital is in dire straits. I do organizational management. Like I study organizations and tell them how they should be right sized and whether the right processes they should be doing. I gave him advice that was free that I could have been charging him for, but I was like, I'm not representing the government. And I told this man, I said, if we have a natural disaster today, your hospital will collapse. We'll have to call in the National Guard.
yeah,
And
you're
I was
not in
serious
this
about
fight.
that.
You're not in this fight alone. You're not. You really need to get in contact with Cynthia.
I will reach
Okay.
out to her. Like I said, I'm writing a detailed report that I'm going to send it to my congressman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh
Thank
yeah,
you.
she
I'm
got
I'm
that
sending
connection. And Tim, who's your senator?
Mark Warner and Tim Kaine.
She's
Both
in
of them are
Tim
former
Kaine.
governors
Yeah.
of Virginia.
Right. Right.
Tim Kaine is her connection.
Correct. And Carol Blaylock Wright, thank you. She put in the notes in the chat.
Thank you,
Cynthia's
Carol.
name and the link to her agency.
And I'm gonna call Cynthia or text her or email her or something, tell you gonna be calling.
Right.
I will call her tomorrow, but we are in dire straits in the United States with fair, equitable health care for our Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just people that don't have insurance, it's people in general.
Mm-hmm.
With insurance.
With insurance.
Yes.
With insurance. And the fact that they would try to keep him, even though they know that they can't provide him the best care, but because he has insurance, they look at
because
him
he has
like,
insurance.
But
now-
Ms. Dr. Blessman, what they don't know is that I will get everything that I have every mite. I know a lot of senators because I used to run to the White House when I worked for DOD and to the different senator buildings, Lockrave and all of them. I will find somebody to help me attack them, and I will attack them through Medicaid and Medicare because they all get federal funding. They don't realize it's like, if I really come after them, I really can come after them. I will cripple them. They don't realize that about me. I am everybody's best advocate, but you get me wrong, I am very resourceful.
okay, so
They will have an OIG
today.
investigation they couldn't get rid of.
That's what I'm telling you.
Wrong one today.
Wrong one. Wrong one.
Okay. Loving that.
Sometimes that's what they need is a wake-up call.
That's for sure.
And you're
baby.
right, Miss Shirley. You are right, Miss Shirley. They need a wake-up call, and it's like it is serious. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Christy, probably I'm going out on a limb and say virtually everybody on this call has had an experience with that kind of treatment within a medical facility.
Correct.
You know, and in particular, as it relates to having to advocate on behalf of a senior, you know, what are you waiting on? What are you doing this for? Why are you doing that? So, you know, we need to all just continue to embrace it. And it's real critical for us to understand this has been going on for a long time, and I don't really see it stopping. You just have to be very vigilant. You need to read up. You know, I remember telling people, well, it was my family. They were like, well, Dad, he's at the hospital. We're all going home. And I was like, except me. What do you mean? I'm staying overnight. They got on the phone, called my mom. Sandra wants to stay overnight. Mom said it's not necessary, Sandra. I said, like I said,
yes,
I'm staying overnight.
Yes,
Don't leave your people in the hospital.
That's right.
Hospital by yourself. Stay overnight. And I slept out. This was 12 years ago. It was before my accident. Well before my accident. But I slept in the lounge area on 2 chairs. That's my daddy, and that's your daddy.
Yes.
You have to do, young lady.
Yes, Dr. Cato, I hear you loud and clear because that is how I am. And I tell people at the rehab center he's at, I had to get on them because he now has an ileostomy bag. I had to go up there like 3 or 4 times, and I had to change the bag, and you're not supposed to change it that many times. So I wrote an email. They didn't have her phone number extension to the director of nursing. I had a meeting with her yesterday. I was off. I do not play with them. I take no punches. I told his nurse James, and he, you know, he's another ethnicity, and he was like, you know, he was gonna do it, and he was doing it wrong. I was like, hold up. I said, man, you'll come to blows about my daddy. I'm like, nope.
Okay.
I mean, what better reason than that? What is there in your dad?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people have to understand it's like we want the best care. And I'm like, I normally talk positive to him because the CEO of the hospital here, this HCA is a big business in Virginia, and it's probably all over the East Coast. And I told him, I said, look, the people need you, but your hospital is less than stellar. And I said, they do not compare to the hospitals in Richmond. If you don't know how to run it, you need to hire somebody like me, or you need to go watch those hospitals. And he gonna tell me, he said, well, you're brave to talk to me. I said, no disrespect, but I don't know who you think you are. I said, I work for 4-star generals for the Army, so you definitely don't outrank them. But anyway, that's another story. He was just, you know, it's just, everybody is for money now. Everything is for profit.
Yep,
And
everything
if
is
they
for
don't
profit.
care about anybody, because once they got my dad back, well, you know, they were pushing him out, which I want him out the hospital because he needs to move around. But everything is about money, and it's not about people. And it's like, we need to get people back to it being and well-being.
Well, one of the things that you said, I don't know if Dr. Cato said it or if you said it, Christy, and I can segue into Dr. Blessing's presentation and turn on our Facebook live. The quality of care at this stage in 2023 is less than subliminal. It's happening on the West Coast, it's happening on the East Coast, it's happening here in the South, and of course, I'm sure it's happening in the Midwest as well. So if you have,
And Patricia is saying it's happening over there in London too.
in London too, right?
Okay.
So
Wow. Okay.
Yes, I nearly got arrested once for my dad as well.
Dealing with your family in hospital, dealing with clinicians, yes.
Okay.
So that is a universal story, especially for people of color. Now, add on top of that, all of the practitioners that died that we don't know nothing about.
Did you read Carol Blaylock's Wright's message?
And I didn't see, because
Check it out.
I'm doing our controls. And all of the practitioners that have left.
Yep, that's exactly what she hit on. Yep, left the field.
And then those who want to be practitioners because for whatever reason. So the experienced practitioners, clinicians are probably a very few, very
burnt out because of the COVID.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So
absolutely.
And now we have a new damn variant that
we got surges coming.
That doesn't
Go
have
ahead
symptoms.
and start the live.
Yep. So yes, we have but I'm not going to quite start with the symptoms, but
okay,
the new one. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Patricia,
we're going to get there. Yes.
If I could offer, just take 1 minute and say welcome to your other guests.
Oh.
Just take 1 minute.
Okay. You stop the broadcast?
No.
Okay. Oh yeah, because we kind of went at it, right? Miss Barbara Brock is here, Miss Belvedere, Belinda, Brenda, Carol, thank you for your insightful comment in the chat. We try to cover that in our discussion. Denise, Eddie Joe, it's good to see you that you're here. June Johnson, I don't know who mine's iPhone is, but whoever you are, thank you for being here. Hi, June. Nia, Patricia from the UK, love it. Paula McNair, Rashida, thank you. Rashida always is the first one in, and she always says good evening to everybody, and so I love that about her. She level sets the room for us, good evening. Renee, Sharon Skoronsky is here, Sheila, and of course,
Dr. Blessman, can I speak real
Yes.
quick? It's Sharon.
yes,
Well, first I want to tell you happy 41 and then some, God's blessings. And to Christy, you're in my thoughts and prayers, and may God blanket you and your daddy with his blanket of protection. And then if everyone could pray for a good friend of mine who's like a sister who lost her mother this afternoon. Okay, that's it.
Oh, okay. So we'll definitely lift your friend up in prayer who lost her mother.
Thank you.
And I want to add, I have a pastor in our neighborhood that passed away. His name is Reverend Dow. The funeral is Saturday. He's such a puller in the community to the young folks. So if we can pray for the Dow family, I appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. We will. We will. So we lift up all of the concerns of our members, our community members, those that have passed, those that are sick. We ask, I love the way Sharon said that, be blanketed with God's love, mercy, and grace. And I'm Christian, so I'm gonna plead the blood of Jesus on everybody's situation. That in the fullness of time, that we find peace and acceptance and some meaning out of what has happened.
So, Dr. Blessman, can I just let everyone know that Karen, our good friend Karen, lost her mother today.
It happened today? Oh my goodness.
And she lost her dog last week.
No.
Malika. So she is going through it. So we need to make sure we keep her in prayer. She lost her mother today, like around 2.
Okay.
Sharon, that's the friend I was talking about, but I didn't know if I should have given her name or not. So
right.
but
Karen has presented to our group. She was the one that was always doing the she had the friends who she was in the computer tech industry for banks, and she had colleagues in India. So early on, she really had the real global perspective about what was going on with COVID, and she kept us up to date on a number of things, including not only how COVID was traveling, but also the biosafety tools that we could use, and made some important connections for us. I will make sure I reach out to her. I knew that that her mom was in the last chapter of her life. I didn't realize that it happened today. But thank you for sharing that, so that I will definitely reach out to her today. Okay. Let's see. Okay, screen broadcast, and okay. Hopefully everybody can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. So I know Michelle was leading you into a discussion about this upcoming variant. We're going to get there, I promise you. But I want to start with a point of empowerment, because we have always said that no matter what variant comes our way, as long as you know the routes of transmission, you know how to protect yourself, because there's only so many ways that a virus can be transmitted. And as long as you know that, it doesn't matter which, how it shape shifts. As long as you know how it is transmitted, you can always protect yourself. We have moved from 7 Fs in an R to 8 Fs in an R. The one that we added was follicles. Thank you, Mr. Eddie Jones. And basically that refers to our hair. We want to make sure that when we are in crowded spaces like airplanes or airports, be aware that if you're traveling through, viral particles can be aerosolized. So that's some of the reason why I always wear my air tamer when I'm in the airport, because that's like having an invisible helmet around my head, 3 feet in every direction around my body. All those ions are flying out there and keeping air, particles from landing on my head. But I'm also, also got to be aware that if you sit in a seat with the headrest, then you got to be careful about what particles are on that headrest that can then attach itself to your hair. So, after being on a plane, I suddenly sprayed my hair with some Clean Smart to take care of that. Eddie also mentioned there were some essential oils that you can use in your hair that are natural viral fighting essential oils like eucalyptus, tea leaf, or tea tree and lavender, or you can just wear a head cover. So, I just want to start with a point of empowerment before we start talking about new variants. Okay, I wanted to start with a couple of people, one person in my community, but a couple of people outside of our evening community passed along this message to me, and they asked my take on it. So I just want to read it to you because they said they got it as a text message, and this was being passed around. And it goes, dear family, please pass along regarding new COVID update. New COVID health advisory. Everyone is advised to wear a mask because the new COVID Omicron XBB variant coronavirus is different, deadly, and not easily detected. Symptoms of the XBB virus are as follows. No cough, no fever. There will only be joint pain, headache, neck pain, upper back pain, pneumonia, general loss of appetite. XBB is 5 times more toxic than the Delta variant. It has a higher mortality rate. It takes a shorter time for the condition to reach extreme severity. And sometimes there are no obvious symptoms. This virus is not found in the nasopharyngeal region, and it directly affects the lungs, the windows for a relatively short period of time. Nasal swab tests are generally negative for COVID Omicron XBB, and false negative cases of nasopharyngeal tests are increasing. This means the virus can spread in the community and directly infect lungs, leading to viral pneumonia, which in turn causes acute respiratory distress. XBB has become highly contagious, highly virulent, and lethal. Avoid crowded places. Keep a distance of 1.5 millimeters, even in open spaces. Wear a double layer mask. Wear a suitable mask. Wash hands frequently, even when everyone is asymptomatic. No coughing or sneezing. Don't keep this information to yourself. Share as much as possible with other relatives and friends. Okay, so when they told me about this, I said, well, no, I don't like scare tactics, number one. I don't like scare tactics because that's what this is. And I want you to be aware of messages like this. Not because, well, some of the messages is not, some of it is not accurate, but the basic things. Beware of mass messages like this because number one, there was no source. So if you go back to, pass this along regarding new COVID update. I wish they had, where did this come from? Who is saying this? There's no source. And then those of us who are in the know, and there was no date. Was this referring to something, for those of us who have been in this room, in these rooms, we know that XBB, Omicron, was an old variant. This is not the new variant. This is not the latest one. So there's no date. And that's one of the things that I always check when I get sources of information. Where's it coming from? Number one, what's the date? Because something that might be relevant in early 2022 may not be relevant today. Even things that may be relevant in early 2023 may not be relevant early, like January, February, March of 2023 may not be relevant today. And this is one example of that. Now, we already knew that nasal swab tests were becoming less effective in detecting COVID. We knew that, and we have, if you've been in these rooms, you know that we've talked about the fact that at some point the viral particles were going to mutate to the point where the current COVID tests were going to become obsolete. How obsolete they are now, whether they're obsolete now, I don't know. Nobody's really, I've not seen any really good information or measures of just how robust are the current COVID tests. But sort of the general stuff that they talk about, avoid crowded places, keep a distance. Okay, we know that distance is only one part of it, because we also know that viral particles can be aerosolized. And it can waft through a room the same way that smoke can move through a room. Wear a double layer mask, wear a suitable mask, wash hands frequently. Well, we never stopped doing that. So in this room, and we already knew that you could be asymptomatic and still pass on COVID. Okay, so I just, I guess the thing is that what I'm trying to say is that when these things come up on your phone, it makes it, because it's more personal, because it's on your phone, it's likely coming from somebody that or somebody at least has your phone number. It can become, I won't say more shocking, but it can be more alarming. And we don't want you to be alarmed. You have had, we've been doing this for darn near, 2 years now, Michelle? How many 2 years? And I can't even think about it. 2 years and a couple of months.
We are going on 3 years.
Going on 3 years. Okay, there you go. So I think most of the people in this audience is well versed on what we need to do to protect ourselves. But on some level, I'm glad that people are at least responding to the real fact that there is a surge going on. So people want to respond and say something. But I don't want you to become frightened or alarmed, because you really are. Everybody in this audience has really had a really good grounding on the ways to protect ourselves. And we probably need to do another video for those people, because I don't want to keep covering it over and over and over again. But for those who are new to the room or new to this format, we probably do need to do at least one video and post it online that talks about the biosafety protocols that one can use. I think I already have some kind of little ad lib thing that I did for somebody once that talked about the various things that we can do. We know that there's going to be a lot of false negative cases from the tests, and that those are increasing. So we're good there, that. So that previous message dealt with XBB and Omicron. Well, COVID has mutated well beyond XBB, and there's 36 genetic mutations from Omicron in the two newest variants of concern. There's two new ones, ERIS or EG.5 and BA286. They've been making headlines, and they're spreading like wildfire across the globe. And they are of some concern because they evade vaccine immunity or immunity acquired from an infection. But they may not have all of the data in yet, from because it's only been like about a month, and it takes about 6 to 8 weeks before we really know how deadly it's going to be, or whether the vaccines have any protection for us, offers any protection. So they're still early, we're still in the early phases of that. And that's for any, we need to think about that for any mutation that comes up that is of concern, that it really takes 4 to 6 weeks before they have any data, any real data to talk about how deadly is it, or whether it's more severe or not. Because it just takes having that many cases across the globe before they can have some real robust data to compare it to, like, say, earlier variants like Omicron or Delta or whatever.
So Dr. Busman, I have a question. So right now they're
Sure.
not saying that this is spreading more quickly than all the other ones, but it's not, they're not saying that it is more contagious, but it's just that it's spreading, or it's not more harmful. I don't know how to say it, but it's spreading quicker than any other one, but it's not giving us any serious symptoms right now. Is that
Okay.
what you're getting?
That's what they're saying, but I'm also saying to you that whoever's saying that is not more serious, they're not being honest about the fact that it takes 6 weeks for them to really have that data. And if it really became widespread at the beginning of August. So let's see so the middle of September will be a more likely, I can believe what they say about its deadliness or its severity around the middle of September. Then we can, then you've had enough people around the globe who've had it, and they have enough research to be able to say whether it's more serious or more deadly, or just like, or less deadly. Now,
Dr. Beth, I could say there's some couple of members in my church who got it, and their symptoms have been really light. Thank God, but that doesn't mean it's not going to change. Like you said, we got to wait this one out.
Right. Because that's been the case with other variants that they've been, there's a standard, there's the standard party line when the new variant comes out is, well, it doesn't seem to be any more deadly or any more serious than any of the other variants. They say that every time. So you can expect that. Okay. But I'm saying to our audience, that we gotta wait till we're 6 weeks in before they really know for sure.
How do we get people to really understand? Because churches, jobs, everywhere, people start gathering together more, and they're opening things more and more, and everybody's still not wearing a mask, and so we're gonna have a problem.
Well, so let me just jump in here real quick, Dr. Busman. So the issue with that is we don't know the long COVID effects of it. And so we are a people just in this whole 3-year experiment of COVID, death, long COVID, and near-death experience. And people didn't get serious about it until it started to be their family. So these light COVID episodes, we don't necessarily know what else is behind it. If you go back and watch Cynthia's video, she had COVID and the symptoms pretty much went away. And then she got deathly ill, a week and a half later. So we don't really know the outcomes right now. And quite honestly, I love Dr. Blessman's statement. They lead with what did you say, Dr. Blessman? There's not enough information, or
no, they don't even say that. They just say, "Oh, it's not any more deadly. It's not any more serious than the other variants." I mean, that's like the standard line. Until you get about 6 weeks in, then they start changing the tune. So, so part of it is, they don't want to alarm people. I get it. It's, I mean, it would be more truthful or more honest to say we're at the early phases of testing we're seeing the impact of this one, of this
Mhm.
particular variant.
Mhm.
We'll know in 4 to 6 weeks
Mhm.
how deadly it is or how serious it is, or, we'll have solid, more robust data to be able to share.
Mhm.
But, they're not technically lying when they say it doesn't appear to be. And usually they modify it. So, well, it doesn't appear to be more dangerous or more. And that's because they don't know yet,
Mhm.
But just looking at the pattern of how the data gets, used, or how the data gets collected, and how they finally are able to really come to some solid determination about the RO, which is transmissibility, hospitalization cases, death ratio, and that's really how they measure severity. It's usually around somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks after it becomes the most widespread variant that they're able to really address that
Mhm. And
with
then,
robustly.
right, so piggybacking off of your last presentation 2 weeks ago, most of the surveillance, or if not all of the surveillance for the variants, has been through wastewater.
Yes.
So we can choose to be ignorant. What we are not getting is information. So we're not informed. Remember COVID at the beginning? We had we had testing, and they were reporting how many people, turned up positive, how many people positive went to the hospital. The surveillance, we could see it. It was right on the website.
Right.
And they changed it. And then they stopped. Okay, so look at
They
what
stopped
did.
reporting.
They stopped reporting. Even if we did have tests, you're not going to get 9 times out of 10, and that's just my statistic I'm throwing out there. It's not going to say that you're positive. The
Might
positive
not.
test or not, right? You can get a false positive, but this is information that you have to go get, research. No one is, that it's not a given. You're not going to
Right.
get on channel 7, 2, 32, 63, 84. You're not going to get it on ONN, CNN. They'll say that COVID is spiking, but they're not going to give you the details behind it.
Right. Then there's nobody. Well, I shouldn't say there's nobody. You have to go look for
You have to look for it.
the death ratios and the hospitalization ratios. Well, they are surging. I think I mentioned that in so they saw that surging, and they saw the surge in the wastewater.
Right.
We are approaching, I think I had a graph in the last, not in this, it was in the session.
Presentation you did, but you left that Axel piece off, Dr. Blessman.
Oh, no.
Let me see
Okay.
if I can find it.
Yeah, because there's a place that is now collecting that, the surge rate stuff.
The surge.
Biota, I think it's the name of the organization. So yeah, so finding the data is now becoming more challenging. Now the variant data is still being produced by the CDC. So you can still access that. But something like the New York Times and the other places where we used to get like testing data, hospitalization data, and death rates, that has now ceased. Right. But the CDC is today I just saw somewhere where they were doing that, and I have to like bookmark those pages for future reference. I got to look at it too, make sure that it's how up to date it is. But definitely we know that the testing data, in terms of the over-the-counter test, is not a reliable source of prevalence of COVID. The wastewater data is, you can't mess with that. So they now have gone to the wastewater data, and they definitely see a surge. And then somebody sent me I think it was Carol may have sent it to me. that they have this sort of informal way of determining whether a spike is happening. So there's a specific candle. It's like the Yankee wax candle on Amazon.
Mhm.
And so when they start getting more reports that people like negative reviews saying that they can't smell the candle and it's a weak smell or whatever, that has been correlated. It seems to, it's when they get more negative reviews, that seems to be a marker of a rise or a surge in COVID because there are more people who all of a sudden can't smell. So that's really, I just threw that in there. It's a real interesting little side.
Okay, and people are just looking for any signs. And so imagine, Renee, if you are not a scientist or no, because understanding wastewater prevalence, right? That's not high school biology. That's not even community college biology. Look, but that's not even grad. That's not.
Well, that's more grad level.
But I'm not. I was stopping. That's more of that's not even undergrad. And then it's only really grad level understanding if you're in the science.
Correct.
Okay, so there's a percentage of people in this country who do not understand wastewater prevalence and surveillance based on population. I cannot even begin to tell you how many people have COVID in the community based on the wastewater, because I'm not that kind of scientist. And
but you at least know that there's a connection, and most people don't know
the connection.
that.
Exactly, right. Dr. Blessman, I understand the connection. And so that connection started happening a couple of months ago.
Right, right. And I respect, what is really awesome about this community is that, you all are more well-versed than the average person. When I looked at, this is an aside, I'm getting off track a little bit, but when Michelle posted the videos, and that's not even all of them, on our YouTube station, it just made me really realize how much data, how much information got shared in and amongst this group. And a number of you in this, in this audience were also presenters.
Yes.
So we have an incredible and I mean that in the collective, the royal we have an impressive body of work of what the information that we have shared to the public. So it would be, I can't wait to have, as much of that, online as possible, because it really is something to be proud of. Anyway,
it is.
But you all are much more well versed. And if you think about it, if you've been coming into this room, every day, every Tuesday pretty consistently for the last 3 years, then that, was 52 times 2. That's 300, 200, at least 200 hours? No, 200, that's 600 hours.
Maybe that's the time right there.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. And some of you have had other, we've done other ancillary learning beyond, just the 2 hours that we spend here. Right. But anyway, so they're spreading fast. EG5 or what's called ERIS and BA286 are 2 variants that are spreading fast, and they're known to evade vaccine immunity or immunity acquired from an infection. Both of these variants are from the XBB line, so they're descendants of Omicron. And while scientists have identified more ERIS cases worldwide, which seems to have a high degree of transmissibility, BA 2.86 is right up there too, or is they're competing. There are new COVID symptoms some new COVID symptoms for BA 2.86. They have a lot of the old symptoms, plus a few new symptoms. People are getting rashes. They have eye redness, and in some cases, diarrhea. With ERIS, you know, it kind of feels a little bit like some of what they reported with Omicron: fever, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, muscle aches, headache, loss of taste and smell, and sore throat. Remember the sore throat from the Omicron. What's also not being widely reported, and I'm still looking for the source for this, Michelle, because we've had it on our invite, but not being widely reported is having symptoms that could look like COVID. Initially, you test negative, but then the symptoms worsen over the course of the week, and then you possibly get a negative COVID test by the end of the week.
Right.
So
You didn't get that in the article?
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not.
Let me look and get it for you.
I have a question,
Okay.
y'all. It says rashes on here. Do you know in Florida they were talking about people getting leprosy? I wonder if that's something that could be related to this stuff. Did you
Ooh.
hear that? Yeah.
No telling.
Ooh, no telling.
I saw the rash. I said,
No telling. And you know, Florida has been, you know,
because they've
they've been
non-compliant.
no masks, no, you know, COVID doesn't exist, you know, this is all fake and all that other kind of stuff. You know, Florida's on a whole different up tip when it comes to, you know, biosafety and protecting yourself. So yeah, so that kind of reminds me of monkeypox, but it's not monkeypox. They're saying people are getting rashes. So that would mean that there's some fomite transmission that's happening. And it's, you know, and if you think about, you know, we've kind of talked about that, you know, like when we're out, you know, are we careful to make sure that there's some cloth between ourselves and, you know, surfaces of places that we sit. So I don't know if the rashes, I don't know where the rashes are coming, if they're just coming in extraneous places or are they coming through points of contact where, you know, because this is summertime. In the summer, we typically are wearing clothing that exposes more of our skin. And our skin may be coming in contact with surfaces that other people's skins have come in contact with. Like on a plane, I never wear shorts or a short skirt. You know, I'm making sure my legs are covered up, you know, before I sit in the chair. You know, if I have to wear a long sleeve shirt, it's a light linen shirt, you know, so that my elbows or my arms are not exposed to handrails or stuff like that. Particularly in airports. And I've been in a couple of airports over the last few months. So, you know, yeah. So let's get into, you know, what's happening with the vaccines. Now, so, you know, of course, the fall season is coming. We know that there's some concerns because there's an uptick in cases before the cold and flu season actually started. Wait a minute, let me back up before we get into that. You know, a long time ago, we had talked about getting Pneumovax 24, the pneumonia vaccine. So I don't know for any of you who are just getting 60, 61, 62, you know, we had talked about the fact that the pneumonia vaccines are useful with COVID in this era of COVID, because a lot of times when you get COVID, if it affects the lungs, it can, you know, having the pneumonia vaccines will help prevent you from getting COVID pneumonia, so to speak. So for those of you who have not gotten your pneumonia vaccines, please do, because that can be a, you know, part of your tool chest to fight off COVID and its, you know, more disastrous impacts. Okay, so for this fall season, you know, the COVID vaccine makers are gearing up with updated shots, but those shots target the Omicron subvariant. both Moderna and Pfizer have said that their shot show promise against ERIS too, but I don't know. I mean, ERIS has got 36 genetic mutations aside from at Omicron or XBB. They expect they're waiting for approval from the health regulators, and they're supposed to be ready in the next, this autumn. Of course they're all going to say, oh, well, they've got some antibodies. I'm sorry, some promise in producing antibodies from ERIS. That may or may not be the case. Wait a minute, before we get to that, let me do this. Actually, I want to do this. So I want to go back to Novavax. We have been talking for a long time about Novavax and when was it going to be ready and when was it going to be available. So now it's available, and it is also one that has shown an immune response against the subvariant ERIS. I'm not going to tell you what to do, or everybody will make their own decisions about vaccines, whether they're going to get a vaccine and then which vaccine that they're going to get. But I would like for you to have think robustly about the difference between mRNA technology versus Novavax, which uses the same tech as sort of the old school vaccines, where you get a little tiny amount of the virus injected into your body, and your natural immune system learns and builds up antibodies against it, and that's how it provides protection against a full viral load of viral particles, as opposed to the mRNA technology, which basically you're getting something that's going to teach your body to recognize the spike protein and then create antibodies against it should it encounter it again. Okay. There's a big difference between mRNA technology versus sort of old school technology. So, and I was trying to think of a good way to explain the difference. So I wanted to use an analogy. And it may not be a good one, but I'm gonna try it out on everybody here. So if you're doing the Pfizer and Moderna, which is the mRNA technology, basically, if you want, pretend the virus particle is like a complete whole body of some sort, a body of some kind. So mRNA and Pfizer, all they're doing is they're trying to help, they want your body to recognize a foot. That's a foot. And, and sometimes, and with every variation that happens, the foot either changes, has a different sock on it, has maybe the toes look different underneath the sock, but it's a foot with a sock on it. And every time it mutates, it's a different kind of sock. It's different shaped sock. Maybe the sock has individual toes. Maybe the next time it has, stripes. Next time it's a different color, whatever. Okay. So it's teaching your body to recognize the foot with the sock on it. Okay. And so you think about a foot with a sock on it, it's going to be able to see the broad outlines or the broad contours, but it's just a sock. Okay. If you get, actually, like in Novavax, if you get an actual piece of the virus, basically what you're getting is not just a sock, a foot with a sock. You're getting a whole body. you're getting the whole viral particle, or at least a piece of it. Maybe not enough to make you like sick, but just enough of it. And what that means is your body, the immune system has the ability to detect what kind of body is it. You know, it's getting more than a sock. It's getting a head, it's getting legs, it's getting arms, it's getting torsos, it's getting a neck. It can tell that, maybe it's an ape. Maybe, because an ape with a sock on it, if you're just looking at the foot, could look like a human foot. Any kind, there's lots of animals out there that if you put a sock on the foot, it could look like a human foot. You don't know what it is. So, our natural immunity, what God has created for us, is really pretty profound. And although they, and it's closer, having something like the natural or the old school sort of technology, it really helps us to utilize what we naturally have in its best form, because it recognizes the whole thing. We've been talking about how there's too many changes in the S protein, which is basically the foot, or just a piece of the viral particle. And if it makes too many changes in the S protein, it won't be effective. The vaccine won't be effective anymore. Whereas if you have old school technology, or you actually get immunity or antibodies from an actual infection, you're gonna recognize the whole body. It's gonna be able to recognize, okay, this may be a baboon with a different sock on, or this is a lemur with a different sock on, or this is a gorilla with a different kind of sock on, or this is a human. It's going to recognize your natural immunity or old school technology is going to recognize more of the body of the virus, more than just the S protein. So I don't know if that worked for anybody, if everybody got that, but that's the best way I could explain the difference between mRNA versus Novavax, old school versus new school technology. We were in a big experiment. We've talked about this before. We were in a big experiment. They wanted to test out the mRNA technology. You're going to start seeing the lawsuits start to happen. We won't be able to win any of them because when we took the mRNA vaccines, we didn't have a choice in terms of different types of vaccines. But one of the things you signed away was your willingness to sue Pfizer or Moderna should there be any negative impact. We did that. So you have now, make up your mind which one you want to take, and the choice is yours. I'm personally going to take Novavax. Now that it's out and I got a choice, I personally am going to take that one. Because that's going to be closer to what it would be like in terms of your body building a natural immunity. The article that we got the information from is listed on the slide. And, I hope that when the next couple of weeks, when you think about which vaccines you're going to get, that you think about this conversation and make a good choice, the best choice for you, because not everybody can do like old school technology either, because some people have allergies to the materials that's within like the old school technology stuff. So, it won't be for everybody, but you'll have to decide for yourself which one you're going to do. Okay.
Change the slide, Dr. Blessman. Go back one side. Let me finish copying that link, please. Because you don't have it in there where I can lift it. You're gonna lift the.
If I can do it.
Can you? If not, I'm typing it.
This one I can,
You can
yeah, I
go.
can do
Okay,
that.
cool beans. Thank you.
Copy. Oh, you know what? I think I have to get out of the broadcast. I can't do that. I'd have to get out of the broadcast to do
Okay,
it.
well, just put it to your clipboard.
Huh.
And when you come back, you can just put it in.
Okay. Okay. So actually, this is
Carol
I
just
think this is
putting
the
it-
last one.
The right just put it in the chat, child. I don't know how you did that. Go ahead.
Somebody put it in the chat already?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you.
She did that.
Okay, so one of the things that they've been looking at is how are people who are asymptomatic and seem to be able to clear the virus without symptoms, what is going on in their bodies that makes them do that. And one of the things that they're finding is that for some groups of people, there's a genetic difference. And basically what that genetic difference does is it allows it to see the whole virus or the whole viral particle. And that's how their bodies are able to fight off the disease. So they're seeing more than just the spike protein. They're seeing the whole thing. So in other words, they're seeing more than the foot with the sock on it, which is like the spike protein. They're seeing everything. So they're able to recognize it no matter, they're able to recognize it faster because they have more points of information about the viral particle in order to eliminate it out of the body. So that's how I want to end that. Okay, let me come out of this.
So basically, Dr. Blessman, with all this wealth of information, it's good to be informed. It's good to be able to reply back to the emails and the posts that we get from people who are wanting to be well in, intentions and pass on information. But technically, you are the expert in the room.
Everybody in this group is the expert.
Right, you're the expert in the room. We need to be giving out the certificates,
right?
The diplomas. We need to be
Okay.
accredited because you are the expert in the room. And so, what I want you all to think about as you leave tonight is the one. Think about that vaccine. Go back and listen to the end of the broadcast if you need to. If you are a person who don't mind taking the vaccine. If you're not going to be vaccinated with Novavax or the next, okay, so Pfizer is coming out with some more stuff too. But they also had an article that I read that said, so Pfizer forecasted the sales of the mRNA. There was the forecast. Well, they fell short of their forecast because people stopped getting vaccinated because people don't really want to vaccinate out of this pandemic. People don't want to vaccinate out of it. The virus is changing, it's mutating, it's spreading quicker. The symptoms, we have some of them, but we don't know what can happen on the back end of it. And we don't know exactly what other variants are coming up. Immunity is waning from the last boosters. So you have to throw that into the pot too. So immunity, when I'm not saying immunity just in, for you, I'm saying population wise across the country, the immunity is waning. So the susceptibility of getting the virus is much greater now. What can we do to lessen our chances of getting any variant, right? So making sure you have your skin guard, making sure you have your Clean Smart, making sure you have your N95 mask, making sure you're wearing it in public, getting those essential oils for your hair if you're traveling, making sure you understand your situation awareness. Where are you going? What's the is there any information about the wastewater levels for the part of the country or countries or out of the country you're traveling to? Same for you, Sister Patricia. Whatever we do over here in America, you should be doing it over there in England too. Because it's tit for tat. You know, the viruses are traveling by boat, by plane, however people are traveling. That's how these viruses and funguses, rashes are spreading.
Spread.
Sister Renee, I hear the urgency in your voice when you talk about your faith community. And I'm going to put it out here one more time. I'm not going to say it here on YouTube, but I want to say to you, please get in contact with me and Dr. Blessing and let us talk to you and work with you so that the people in your faith community can at least understand what kinds of risk could be happening in the faith community inside the building if they're not practicing some kind of biosafety protocol. And I'm just going to
I
say
will.
that. But I did see Miss Belvedere's hand up. I saw your hand up 45 minutes ago, and then I saw you take it down. So was that Miss Belvedere or was that Miss Williams? It was a B.
Either one, it's fine. It's me. Greetings, family. Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
My question was, Dr. Blessman mentioned that if you would like to take the Novavax vaccine, but if someone has already taken one of the other vaccines, can they still take the Novavax?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
You
so
can.
they can mix it.
Yes. The challenge might be that it may not be as available. The experience that we had last year when it finally became available was you had to specifically ask for that, and it wasn't necessarily free. So now I don't think any of them are free. I don't know. I mean, free in the sense of, well, it might be free to us if you have free in the sense that you got insurance, but you know, for those people who are not insured, it may not be free for them. So I don't know what it's going to cost. And you may have to ask specifically for that. So I will be asking, I will be putting in my requests at my local jewel hospital. Like, make sure y'all get some Novavax. So that's what I'm going to be asking for.
Okay, because it's absence of the RMNR. How do you say, what is it?
The mRNA.
Okay, the mRNA.
Messenger RNA vaccines, yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't have that.
It is made like the typical old school vaccines where they they give you a little smidgen of the virus, enough to activate your white blood cells and your natural immunity so that it can recognize it again. So it's not the mRNA. See, I had to go back and reread about the mRNA technology because I had forgotten all about it. I said, it wasn't fresh on the mind. I said, oh yeah, that's right. It's a process where they're not giving you a piece of the virus. What they're giving you is something, they're inserting something in your DNA or in your cells, and it's supposed to make the spike proteins that they want the blood cells to, the white blood cells to attack. And then that's how they stimulate your immune system. So basically it's like using your body to create the spike cells that they want to then attack. So new technology, you know, and we've had, you know, truth be told, we've had some, you know, some problems with that. You know, they had that, oh God, I can't even think of the name of it now. What was the name of, you know, you could go
The
to that
blood clot?
website. No, you go to the website to report the negative impact,
The adverse effect.
adverse effects, right?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You
That's
know,
gone.
so, you know, and so, you know, people have been, you know, they've been talking about some of the adverse effects of
The
the
mRNA.
mRNA technology.
Oh, yes, I've heard plenty about it. Plenty. And Dr. The one that's gone from, oh, what's his name?
Dr. Rowland.
Dr. Rowland. Wow, how did that
Initially-
slip out my head? Dr. Rowland, when he mentioned Novavax, and that's what he was going to take when it got here, that's when we did all the research about Novavax back then.
Right. Back then.
Yeah.
And remember, it just took a long time for it to come out.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so, you know, so, and Pfizer and Moderna was just quicker to the table. So, you know, but, you know, now they don't have the advantage of being first. So, you know, we now have we now have a choice. Do you want to do the, I mean, it's your choice. Do you want to do an mRNA, or do you want to do, you know, more of the old school technology?
Well, everyone deserves a choice.
There you go.
And I love a choice.
I love having a choice, right?
So in my original question, when my hand was raised earlier, Dr. Blessman, you mentioned about traveling in your hair and sitting places where other people sit and skin touch and hair touch. When you get a pedicure, you should never let your head or arms touch the headrest or the armrest. I wear a jacket if I go, and I never let my hair touch the headrest.
Yep. Or I throw some or I, you know, well, I wear my hair natural, so it's not a big deal for my hair to get misted with some Clean Smart. That's, you know, so that's my kind of go-to. I keep it in my purse and mist it. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, for those people who might wear their hair straightened, or, you know, where humidity might be an issue, then you might want to have some other means of protecting your hair. But yeah.
And the salon owners, they should have a like a sheet of like a paper towel type thing to like put there, and when you leave, they throw it in the trash.
They should. I mean, just like they do with the doctor's office, but they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. So, you know, I just make sure that I wear, I just make sure I wear a dress that's to my knees, or, you know, so I can still get my pedicure, but, you know, I'm not, you know, my butt and my legs and my thighs are not like directly, either that or I spray it. I mean, that's the other thing. You can take some alcohol and just spray your seat and be done with it.
That's true.
You know,
I mean, since really going back to the basics.
People laugh, but I have, in my bag, I have a bottle of alcohol, bottle of Clean Smart, my skin guard, and my air tamer, always.
Oh, that's me as well. Thanks to this, thanks to you guys, I carry all that stuff with me. I'm so protected.
You know, because I don't know, and that has allowed me to live a full, robust life.
Right.
And I'm prepared no matter what circumstances I end up running, that I run into. I was on vacation, and, most of the time you're outside or you're doing stuff, outside. But if you walk into a store, then all of a sudden you're in a store and there's a crowd of people around you. Well, that's a reason to have my I always have it on. As soon as I come out the house, I have my air tamer on. Even if think I'm going to be outside, unless, I have it on, period. Because you just never know. I never in the places that I go, you just never know when you might end up in a situation where you are in a crowd of people inside of an enclosed space. So I just always have it. A lot of times I might even have it attached to my bag because my bag is always on my person. And I might have the Iron Me dangling off my bag because it's like that's one way of having some kind of ionizing going on around me. And that's even more powerful to have the Iron Me because that's supposed to be 200 square feet. But if I'm within 10 feet of my bag, I feel like I'm pretty safe. I'm pretty much covered. So even if I'm at a event and I get up out of my chair and go to the refreshment table and it's within 10 feet of where I'm sitting, I know I'm still protected. In fact, everybody within 10 feet of me is protected, but okay.
That's right.
I use that in church. Wherever I go, Dr. Bless everybody is at work. I take a church wherever I go. About eat is on the tables everywhere. But I want to ask a question. I'm not changing, but with the ear tamers that we have, that little I guess I will call that little fiber piece in the middle. Mine was tall, but now it's really low. And I thought I heard Shirley one time say she sent it back and they replaced it. So I just want to know if you got any more information on that.
I've not had to do that, but I can put Troy Anderson's phone number in the chat.
I appreciate
it. But he's been, he said that, if there was any issues, that for our group, he would be super responsive. So let's see.
I'm so grateful for all this information. Michelle, I'm grateful.
No.
If you're not using your tools, you're not protecting yourself, right? If you don't have an air purifier, whether it's an air tamer, Ion Me, something else you found on Amazon or eBay or wherever you shop, if you're not using your tools, then you are susceptible to what's out there, with or without the tools, but you have more protections with the tools. And now, because we have ongoing variants that are moving quicker, people are getting sick, people know that something that can help them. And you might find people asking you more now, what can they get? Or they have an ear to listen to you about them protecting themselves.
Correct.
Now, if we have if our morbidity rates go up where they can't hide it, your people are definitely family members, friends, people you didn't talk to in the grocery store, you see again in your little community, they're going to be really asking about safety, how to protect themselves, or they'll be more open to hear what you have to say. And I don't want to ramble and I'm rambling, but we need to solidify our COVID senior guide. So I know we have been doing our summer theme, our team, but if we can please close the deal on that brochure in the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks. I don't want to go to Christmas. I don't want it to be a Christmas gift. It needs to be in the atmosphere.
Yep, this might be more timely given that we're having a surge and we're going, and this is pre cold and flu season. So this might be a real timely time to get it out there.
To get it
So
out.
on that note, and you know, it's 8:41. Let's call it a night. You know, love to all of you. You know, each of you are in my prayers. It's always such a good feeling to come back, no matter what. It's a good feeling to come back to this community and to share this time together. You know, and to be here a source of support for each other. We're going to keep Christy and her father lifted up in prayer. In fact, everyone. Karen Richmond, and there was one other person.
Well, Sharon spoke, but
Okay, but she was talking about Karen Richmond. Okay, I think we covered everybody. I believe so. But if not, you know, it's only